Weekend hot takes. Wait, we're doing war with Iran now? Hashtag WTF edition. So this is happening now? Apparently, we woke up this weekend and the world collectively decided, sure, let's add another war to the schedule. One minute, everyone is arguing about grocery prices and student loan payments, and the next minute, the headlines read like a deleted scene from a geopolitical action movie. Coordinated strikes, retaliatory missiles, emergency United Nations meetings, airspace closures, and oil markets reacting like they just drank 5 Red Bulls. If you feel like you missed several chapters of the story, you didn't. Most people did. Modern war rarely arrives with formal declarations anymore. It shows up quietly, disguised as breaking news alerts wedged between weather updates and celebrity gossip notifications. And suddenly, we're all expected to nod along as if escalation was inevitable, as if this outcome was always written into the script. The plot twist nobody asked for. The official explanation comes packaged in familiar language: preemptive defense, nuclear threats, regional stability, deterrence. It's the greatest hits playlist of international conflict. Words designed to sound strategic enough that nobody stops to ask whether they actually make anyone safer. Strikes lead to retaliation. Retaliation promises escalation. Leaders insist they want stability while taking actions that make instability almost guaranteed. Everyone claims they're preventing a wider war while carefully walking us toward one anyway. Cool, 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 cool. Meanwhile, regular people are doing the math. Here's the part missing from most television panels. War isn't just bombs and maps. War shows up in everyday budgets long before it shows up on battlefields. It looks like rent creeping higher, gas prices jumping overnight, and groceries costing more before a single missile lands near your neighborhood. Global markets react instantly to instability, especially when critical shipping routes sit under threat. That reaction translates quickly into everyday life, where economic adjustment becomes polite economist language for, congratulations, your cost of living just increased because powerful people are fighting again. And somehow, ordinary people are expected to absorb that shock quietly. The real WTF moment. Let's pause here, because the questions people are asking aren't radical, they're obvious. Didn't we just spend decades learning that wars in the Middle East don't stay contained? Didn't we already experiment extensively with solving complicated regional problems through military force? Didn't we collectively agree that endless war might not actually produce stability? Apparently not. Because while escalation unfolds abroad, systems at home still struggle to provide housing, health care, food security, or meaningful safety nets. We're told repeatedly that there isn't enough funding for social services, harm reduction programs, survivor support, or community care, yet somehow resources for war appear almost instantly. Amazing how that works. What war actually does to vulnerable people. This is where the conversation becomes deeply relevant to swap behind bars and the communities we serve. War does not stay overseas. Its consequences travel economically, socially, and politically. Historically, escalation brings displacement, migration crises, expanded surveillance, increased policing, and economic instability that pushes more people into survival economies. Social programs shrink while security budgets expand. Gender-based violence rises. Exploitation increases. When economies destabilize, people do not suddenly become immoral, they become desperate. And desperation is where exploitation grows. The communities already living closest to the edge, migrants, poor families, criminalized workers, survivors, and people navigating underground economies, absorb these shocks first and longest. War widens vulnerability every single time. The part nobody likes to admit. Foreign policy conversations love abstraction, deterrence, sovereignty, influence, geopolitical balance. But on the ground, war is painfully simple. People with the least power pay the highest price for decisions made far away from them. Not policymakers, not defense contractors, not commentators debating strategy from comfortable studios. Regular people, everywhere, including here. So what do we do, besides scream into the void? First, refuse to normalize permanent crisis. Constant escalation thrives when people feel powerless or numb. Second, recognize that care work becomes more essential during instability. Mutual aid networks, community organizers, and sex worker-led organizations often become lifelines precisely when institutions pivot toward security instead of support. And third, stay human in moments designed to make suffering feel abstract. While governments escalate conflict, communities still have to feed families, support survivors, keep people housed, and answer crisis calls at 2 in the morning. War may dominate headlines, but survival always happens locally. Weekend reality check. None of us control global military strategy, but we do control what kind of world exists in our immediate orbit. We can support organizations doing real harm reduction. We can invest in community stability instead of spectacle. We can fund care instead of crisis. Because while world leaders talk about dominance and deterrence, we're focused on something far more radical, keeping people alive. And honestly, that shouldn't be controversial.